Visit most any urban area today and you'll find them, people living on the street. For most of us, accustomed to four walls and some sort of security, understanding what the homeless endure is almost impossible. One way to get an insight is through Forgotten Voices' Unforgettable Dreams, a compilation of writings and sketches by homeless people. The coordinator and editor of the book is Deborah Mashibini. She spent 4 years as an assistant director of New York's Coalition for the Homeless. She is with us, along with Andrew Byard, a contributor to the book. After being homeless off and on for 9 years, he's just found a place to live and is going to school. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Homeless off and on for 9 years.
Yeah.
You've now found a place to live.
Yeah. And that was accidentally, actually.
And that was accidental?
Right. Yeah. I was working for the Coalition for the Homeless, and one of the staff members who runs a camp in upstate New York somewhere let me use his apartment for the summer. I sublet. And from there, I just, I accumulated some money, and I finally had a place of my own to live in. Which is,
if it is cultural shock to go from four walls and security to being homeless, it must be a real special sort of culture shock coming back from
It is. There are a lot of things you forget, and a lot of things you don't do. Living outside, for instance, something real simple, like washing a dish after you've used it. You don't do that. You don't think to do that, because when you're living outside, you don't have a dish to wash. And so, if you're outside for a number of years, you lose your sense of getting up in the morning and going to the bathroom to brush your teeth and things like this, all the little things that people take for granted in their lives, you lose your sense of when you're out in the street. So when you go into a place, you have a hard time. I have a hard time now still sleeping in a bed, which is, that sounds pretty, I guess, bizarre or strange in some ways, but I'm not really comfortable on this soft, it's, to me it's like sleeping on the ocean. I feel like I'm sinking in or something.
In a water.
Yeah.
I remember Sharon Hayes, another woman who's in the book, she got a room after having been on the street for 15 years. And the first day to go there, she had to have an escort. She was terrified of going in, and then she was so claustrophobic inside. She left, and the first couple of weeks that she was there, I know at least a few nights she went back out on the street because she was afraid. Just being in an enclosed area, she wasn't used to at all.
Yeah. How did you get involved with Andrew and the other homeless?
Well, working at the Coalition for the Homeless, one of my frustrations was seeing how much attention was given to the issue of homelessness, how much opportunity to speak about it and write about it, but all of that was being done by advocates, people who had never themselves spent a night out on the street, or if they had, it was to have the experience. They had never been forced to struggle and to suffer that way. So I felt it was very important to give an opportunity for voice of those who had experienced homelessness to be heard. Also, I'm a poet myself, and believe very, very strongly in the importance of creative expression and the power of it in communicating. And then with so much interest in homelessness, it just makes sense that we need some kind of vehicles to hear from people on the streets and in shelters.
So the compilation of poems was your idea?
It kind of was my idea, but it wasn't. It came out of just working with people, and when there's work there, you have to just do something with it. Initially, Forgotten Voices was a writing contest, and I edited the Coalition's local newsletter, mostly news by advocates, one small section, street level. I published short poetry and prose, one piece a month by a homeless person, and I was running out of good quality writing, so I wanted to generate some more submissions, put together a writing contest, spread the word out through flyers, and the response was just overwhelming. I found visual artists coming in and bringing their work and saying, well, hey, I heard you have something going for the writers. What about us? Here's my stuff. And I couldn't ignore it and say, well, no, this is only for writers. So at the end of the contest, when we had a reading of the winner's work, it was also an art exhibit, and we had musicians sharing. And then people who were a part of that were saying, well, we can't stop here, what's next? So we just started getting together and meeting. A number of people started saying, well, there should be a published collection of this work.
And it just came about.
And it just sort of happened.
It's really good.
You wrote a poem.
Yeah. Actually, I wrote this poem for someone in '82. I had gotten stabbed and ended up in the hospital, and the hospital put me in a welfare hotel, so I was in a welfare hotel for 2 years. And during my time there, all I did was write and paint, okay? And I had a friend, a woman who has 2 kids, and she was going through some really horrendous times. So I wrote this poem for her. And at the time, I didn't think the poem meant anything to anyone except her, because I had written it for her, you know. And I mean, you don't assume that anyone else is going to get something out of something that you give to someone else, you know. Anyway, later on...
Would you share it with us?
I'd love to. I was going to say later on, when we got together in the workshop, I found out that the poem really meant a lot, you know, and this is kind of for everyone out there in the street and for everyone in the world, really. It's called Love Remains Standing Strong. Though it's battered and beaten and brought to its knees, and you laugh and mistreat it the way that you please, despite every great battle or war that it sees, love remains standing strong. You could bend it and break it and slap it around. You can kick it and stomp it and crush till it's ground. You could cut out its tongue so it utters no sound. Still, love remains standing strong. And through every mistake that you thought it could make, though you pushed it away for your pride and its sake, though you called it a fool and a lie and a fake, love remains standing strong. Why, there wasn't a day that it hasn't been hurt. In the midst of some passion, a backhanded flirt, it's been stained, it's been soiled and rolled in the dirt. Still, love remains standing strong. So remember that fact the next time you're brought low, with your head in your hands and your heart still in tow. You've been brought to your depths, but it's up you will go, because love remains standing strong. That's my...
I suspect that one reason you didn't realize that was going to have a universal effect was because maybe you'd been homeless out there and you dealt with just that oneness of yourself.
It's true. It's true.
And you'd stopped.
You don't consider other people when, I mean, you really don't have time to. You don't have, not so much don't have time to, but when you consider other people, you lose a lot when you're out in the street.
Because it's powerful.
You know,
One of the most striking things to me about this work, and I say this in the introduction, and many people expect, oh, an anthology of work by the homeless. We don't want to get depressed. It's going to be sad and miserable and just make us all feel bad. But the work, there's some of that, because you can't escape the sadness and the bitterness and the isolation.
Reality, sure.
But overwhelmingly, it's so uplifting. And it really has given me, as I say in the introduction, much more faith in the strength and resilience of the human spirit across the board.
On that note, let's take a break here, and we'll be back with more